This podcast contains material that is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all listeners. Enjoy.
This is a cyclone weather alert. Ladies and gentlemen, radar has indicated a strong storm approaching Jack Rice Stadium. High winds and low visibility are expected. Panther fans in the warned area should seek immediate cover.
I don't want to get on the bandwagon. I'll burn that wagon down and join the band. Traveling troubadours terrorizing street corners just to try to get some supper in our hands. Now I waited all my life to get this off my chest, scream bloody murder until someone understands that it ain't about the money, the drugs, or the women. I make this noise just because I can. And we'll all join in to that original sin. So let's get rowdy and reckless. Let's get rowdy and reckless. Let's get rowdy and reckless. Just for the hell of it. Just for the hell of it.
Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Old Man Strength, a podcast of the Tailgate Society. As always, I am Tim Johnson, joined by Chris Shipley. Chris, how are we doing this evening?
Doing good. Excited. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's getting to be a busy time of year here in the cities. I know you guys already had the state fair. Our state fair starts on Thursday. So certainly busy at work. There's a beer festival this weekend, and then trying to ramp up and be prepared for when school starts after the holiday, because our fair runs through the Labor Day weekend. Our schools don't start until after. So wow. Yeah, it's going to be a busy next couple of weeks for sure. But I am going to sandwich in a vacation in the meantime, just a little weekend away in Santa Cruz. So I'm looking forward to that.
That'll be good. Yeah, school started here this week. Stacy went back. Caitlin went back to school. We moved the boys into their college apartment on Saturday. So, and starting this new job, things are going well. So we're kind of busy too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, in the spirit of being busy, let's just go ahead and jump right into this. Chris, I'm really excited to talk to our guest, but I don't want to take away your introduction of him. So why don't you go ahead and tell us who we're going to talk to this evening?
All right. Well, tonight we have a gentleman who played football for Washington High School in Cedar Rapids. He was offensive lineman for Iowa State University, played 49 games through 2016 and 2019, holds the record for most starts by a Cyclone in football history. Julian Good Jones, welcome to Old Man Strength. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. I got to tell you, what I thought we would do is we'd talk a little bit about your experiences at Iowa State, what brought you to Iowa State, what you're doing now, and then maybe we could preview the season a little bit. But the first thing I need to do is I need to get this rumor that my buddies think. Now, do you recall I think it was 2017, my boys were at Victory Day.
Yep.
And they were paired up with Jamal Richardson.
Yep.
And you came and ate dinner with us at Hickory Park. Do you remember that?
Yep.
So my buddies swear up and down that you got suspended because I gave you a free meal that night, and that's why you missed that game versus UNI. Can you deny or
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to tell us why.
I would like for you to just that was not it.
It was not my fault, right?
Definitely got a lot of free meals over the years as a college athlete that, kind of got swept under the rug and, appreciated every single one. But they definitely never got found out about.
I'll never forget that night, obviously, because you guys were so wonderful to the boys. It was really cool that you guys came and had dinner and stuff. But I will never forget my buddy Tim, not this Tim, but my other friend Tim was with us. And he kept yelling down to the other table to you guys, say, order whatever you guys want. We'll pay for whatever you want. You order whatever you want. And I go, Tim, The fucking guy's an offensive lineman, dude. Knock it off.
Right.
I gotta pay that bill.
Yeah, no, I'm always cognizant of whenever I'm eating on someone else's bill, it's, I can't get what I really want,
Well, again, just as a personal thank you, that was very nice of you and what was nice was the next year we went to Fan Fest and they were with me and you recognized them. So that was super cool. So
hard to forget those guys, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's usually, they're more popular than anybody, really.
Right.
So why don't we start off with, you played at Washington High in Cedar Rapids. What was your recruitment like and how did that go?
So I think for me, it was kind of not as as I wanted it to, just kind of as being a kid who, you're from Iowa and you haven't really seen much, you're one of the best players in the state. Like, you're not really too sure what's out there, and I'm thinking like, why, like, I felt like I should be getting more attention. I was happy with the attention I was getting. I kind of had Iowa State was on me early, which I was happy about because I knew that I wanted to play, Power 5 D1. And that kind of stuck with me through the whole process of, they were just the first team, like the really first big team to give me attention, growing up. Admittedly, I did grow up an Iowa fan. It's kind of hard not to, especially when, I grew up in Cedar Rapids and I'm an offensive lineman. And that's kind of like, they had a reputation of being offensive line school, but they never really showed me any love in the recruiting process, honestly. So that kind of left me with a chip on my shoulder. And as soon as, I kind of went through the camp circuit a little bit, had some like K-State, went to K-State, went to some of the local schools. I visited Minnesota. But after I kind of, the dust settled and I was setting on Iowa State, that kind of like had a chip on my shoulder, that Iowa never kind of gave me a chance. So, yeah.
Plus, was that the Rhodes era or was that Campbell?
I was recruited by Rhodes. So, and then I redshirted my first year under Rhodes, but never actually played in the game under Rhodes.
I can't believe you turned down an opportunity to spend the prime of your life in Manhattan, Kansas. It really seems like that just is a happening town that any 19, 20-year-old kid would just love to be.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, the same could be said about Ames for some, but, for me, Ames was a special place. And as soon as I got there, it kind of like, I just felt like a connection. It felt like home to me. It was close to home. And, my mom, I grew up with just my mom. She was single mother and she really wanted to support me and be close. So I was glad I could make that happen by going, to a local school. Well,
yeah. And we're certainly happy that you made the selection that you did.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Offensive line is probably one of those more unsung areas on the field because, you're not getting your name called. You're not hearing your name over the speaker. Mm-hmm. Usually when anyone's talking about your name, it's usually not something positive that happened.
Right.
Yeah. But you are someone that I think for so long in your career was highly regarded and there was plenty of positive things to talk about. What are some of those moments that stand out for you in particular over your career?
Oh man, well, I can't think of anything like individually that I ever did. It was mostly just seeing the program change. And like, it's crazy how like I said, I was recruited under Rhodes and I came in under Rhodes thinking, he was going to be my coach. And then, we get that coaching change and then it's Campbell. And then it's like, you meet all these, like, it's just crazy how life works, man. It's like, it can't, like, these people came into my life right when I needed them, right? Like Coach Campbell, Coach Manning, Coach Jeff Myers, like all these guys who helped me out along the way, even Coach Rashid, the D-line coach I'm close with, and all these coaches, like the whole coaching staff seemed like a family. So it was crazy how they took that kind of family culture that they had in their coaching staff and just like bled it into the team. And, to see that kind of like transformation over, the 4 years that I was under Coach Campbell was, overall was probably the best memory. I mean, like, and you can see from, our first year under Campbell where we were struggling, we were 3-9, but at the end of the year, we beat Texas Tech and Patrick Mahomes and company, like 66-10 or whatever it was. And then, and then we were like, are we good? Like, do we have something? Like, we suck, but like, are we good? And then, and then the next year it's like, we're thinking, okay, we can be good this year. And then we have, the whole, we have Jacob Park at quarterback, and that doesn't work out. And then Kyle Kemp comes in, and I'm like, oh man, like, I have to be honest. Like, I had, like, going into the game, you don't say this to anyone. Like, you're going into the game, like, of course, like, we're going to win. But back in my mind, I'm like, dude, we have no shot. You know what I mean? Like, I hadn't even really seen Kyle Kemp play, honestly, before that point.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, a little bit in camp, but I was running with the ones and stuff, and he was running with the threes. And it was like, then they just decided to throw him in the game. And it's like, once we beat OU on the road, it was like, it kind of just took off from there, and there was no looking back.
Yeah. The two questions out of that. First is from a fan's perspective, I could see some serious improvement in that first year. We were never really blown out or out of a game. We were always within a couple touchdowns. We were competitive, which I noticed a huge difference between that and some of the Paul Rhodes teams where it just looked like we were constantly out of gas. And then that Oklahoma game going into that, what point during that game though, with Kemp in the huddle, did you think this guy can lead us? I mean, was there a moment there where he didn't have that deer in the headlights look anymore, and you could put some confidence into him that you guys were going to win?
Well, the thing was, he never did. He was never nervous. Like, he was calm and collected going into the game, and I was like, I was happy about that. But it was kind of like going into halftime, we had he threw a nice ball to Keem, like, up the seam, and we were able to get a field goal out of that. And I think we went into the locker room like down 11, and I was like, we're in this, and like you were saying, but to your point, like, we were in games all the time. And I think we kind of, even through like, even that 2018 year, even 2019, my senior year, was like, I just felt like that was the hardest point, was to get past we're in it. Like, how do we finish? You know what I mean? So, and I think that's what this past 2020 team has just figured out how to do, is like really dominate a game from start to finish. Like, they'll maybe have like one quarter, last year, like one quarter where it's like, what's going on, guys? Are we all right? And then they get back to normal Cyclone football that we know now, which is dominant. And now I'm looking at this upcoming year to where it's like 2021, it's like 4 quarters domination football. You know what I mean? Like, all 4 quarters, every phase, all 3 phases. But yeah, so I feel like, back to the question, sorry I rambled, but like, going into the locker room down 11, I thought was huge on the road. That was my first time playing at Norman. So I thought that was huge.
Yeah, no, I recall that was when, I had when I found out that Kemp was going to be starting, and I didn't know who the hell that was. I certainly also had a, well, this should be interesting type of feeling going into the game, probably in a less positive way than I just phrased it right there.
Right.
To the point where I was almost like, I'm afraid of how I'm going to feel if I even watch this thing. Like, I feel like I'm going to just be in a bad mood. And when he found Akeem and, converted it into points before the half, because it seemed like for so many years and so many games, it was a big play right before the half, only to then give up a big play with even less time left in the half or whatever. Right. But like to finish off that half and be that close, that's when I started to believe. Now, as a Cyclone fan, I try to never get my hopes up, because there have been way too many kicks to the real groin over the years, right?
Yeah.
But that one, I started to feel myself change a little bit. So, I can't even imagine.
What did put some faith in me was it was a Cyclone tradition to have a starting quarterback to start off the year, and he blew it. And then the backup comes in and does a lot better. Because you think of like Sam Richardson to Joel Lanning to Jacob Park, then Jacob Park to Kyle Kemp to Brock Purdy. You know what I mean? Like, but now Brock is Brock. But that was kind of like a recurring theme.
We can go farther back. Austin Arnaud to Tiller to, I mean, we can keep going on and on.
Yeah,
and on.
no.
So,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that did have, gave me a little faith. Like, I was like, okay, this is the time where the next quarterback comes in and he does okay. you know.
And do you think, I think sometimes with that situation, the guy coming in is figuring, I don't have anything to lose here. So I'm going to play loose and I'm going to go for it. And then when they get kind of entrenched into a starter, it's almost like they pull back a little bit and go, I'm so afraid to make a mistake here. I don't want to take the big chance. That's what I kind of got when it moved from Richardson when he came in as a backup. He was killing it. He was slinging the ball. And then that next year, it was almost like he wasn't the same guy anymore.
It's a little bit of that. And I think it's also, I think it might be that, but I think it's more so defensive preparation. Like when you're trying to prepare for a quarterback, you know, which is like the premier position in football, probably the most important position to prepare for on the defensive side of the ball, and you don't have film on them. It's like, especially that first game when they come in, it's like, dude, we don't even, like Brock Purdy, Oklahoma State. Dude, he was pump faking, running, juking, like, because they had no idea what he was capable of.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, they definitely didn't watch his high school film. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't watching. And Kyle Kemp had no film. You know what I mean? Like, when they announced he's the starter, probably whatever it was, like Wednesday or Thursday or something in the week, what are they going to watch? His JUCO film? Like, no, they're not watching that. You know what I mean? So they don't know what's going on. You know what I mean?
So what was it like for you, you know, when you were having to transition? Because Kyle Kemp is a very different quarterback than Jacob Park was, and Brock Purdy is a very different quarterback than Kyle Kemp was, right? So what is it like for you, right there, key role, you now have to adjust kind of the way you're playing because of a different style, or do you feel like you just kind of went in and did your thing?
Yeah, I feel like the coaches did a very good job of kind of adjusting the call sheet to, you know, we have this quarterback in, he's capable of this, we're going to play it this way. You know what I mean? Instead, like, and Kyle is just like, you know, you don't want to, like, I don't want to say he's Tom Brady, but he's Tom Brady in my eyes, to where he's going to make the right throw. He's on time. He knows his progressions. He plays within himself. He's not going to try to do anything that's, you know, detrimental to the team, of try to do something that he can't do. Sure. You know what I mean? He's going to make the right read. He's going to hit the right guy, and he's just going to play within himself. You know, they obviously like him compared to Brock, like he's less mobile, but he gets the ball out on time. You know what I mean? He's a great quarterback. Great. I love playing with Kyle.
Yeah, he always struck me as a great guy too. Seemed like a good teammate.
Oh yeah. Very quiet guy. Yeah.
I'm sure he was very humble and appreciative of the chance that he got, and was going to take every opportunity that he took.
I mean, yeah. And what's crazy is that after that happened, you didn't have to be humble, because that was the biggest win in Cyclone history.
Yeah.
Literally. So I guess
to beat
maybe
TCU
Oklahoma
3
State
weeks later. To beat TCU 3 weeks later and pull it off and prove that wasn't a fluke.
Right. And then we win a bowl game against ranked Memphis at Memphis. And it's like, you know, you just changed the program forever, and you're just still the same guy. You know, that's a testament to just him and his character for sure.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Your stable of running backs that you blocked for, pretty good too. You made your job fairly easy, you think?
I mean, blocking for David was like, you didn't even actually have to block anyone. Like, he was just going to break 6 tackles, stiff arm 2 dudes, hurdle somebody, juke somebody, and then it's a 15-yard gain. And you didn't touch anyone. You know what I mean? Like, where there were plays where we severely misblocked, or just like totally didn't even run the right play, and he made it into a, you know, 8-10 yard gain, just wrapped up in the backfield, 10 yards. Like, how are you doing this? I mean, David is to this day, you know, when I was with the Eagles and now I'm playing up here in the CFL, to this day, the best. Like, he's not the best athlete. He's a great athlete, but mentally, he's just so different than anyone else. He won't let anyone outwork him ever. And that's the thing that's like, even in the game, like why he won't get tackled by one guy. Like, you very rarely seen one guy take down David, like the first tackler. It just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? And then, and then you have, you know, then you have Kane, who was, you know, kick return guy, who, you know, we all knew about Kane. We all knew he was always a freak. It was kind of more health stuff for him. And obviously that it was David and Brees by the time that he was there, and those are like tremendous, Doak Walker conversation guys, like the Heisman conversation guys. But Kene, yeah, is a physical freak, like actually, and I'm so happy for him, and that he was be able to get drafted and had an amazing pro day and kind of put himself on the map, because that's just sometimes how it goes, how it shakes out is you don't get the reps. You know what I mean? Like when you have David and then you have Brees, like those are tremendous running backs, and you just he took every opportunity that he got and made the most of it, and he's in a great situation now to provide for his family and having a great NFL career. And then Brees, you guys know about Brees. Brees shocked me as much. I knew Brees was good, but you could, like, I know you guys know Jarrell Brock, and it was kind of like they were the two young guys came in together, and it's like, which one of these guys is better at first? Like these two running backs are both really good, these young guys. And then it was like Brees just popped off and did not look back. You know what I mean? Like kind of just how the trajectory of Iowa State football as a whole just took off one day and never looked back and was not the same.
And the disrespect that he gets, I think, still by the national media, it just blows my mind. It's ridiculous. It's almost to the point where they're doing it on purpose.
I think that as Iowa State as a whole, I know that we have the top 10 rating and everything, but it still feels like, oh, you guys are having your little time. Fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's even like up here in the locker room, we have guys who play in the Big 12, and me, I rep Iowa State as hard as anybody. And I'm going to talk my mess, and I'm going to, we're going to bet, and we're going to put money up or whatever it is just for fun. But I'm serious about it. And when I tell people, I'm like, and it was crazy when I was training out in Arizona, preparing for the draft and my rookie year in the NFL. I was training with all these guys, like 10-year vets in the NFL. And I was in there talking my mess. I said, Iowa State, we are the best team in the nation. I said, which is maybe not true. But I said, we have I said, Brock Purdy, best quarterback in the nation. Mike Rose, best linebacker in the nation. Brees Hall, best running back in the nation. Charlie Kolar, best tight end in the nation. Greg Eisworth, best safety in the nation. Will McDonald, best pass rusher in the nation. And you cannot deny that in my eyes. Those everything I just said is fact in my eyes.
Will McDonald is especially out of that group is especially one that I feel like does not get love. The man leads the nation in sacks and still gets barely talked about. Like I don't
as a backup.
Yeah.
As a backup. He wouldn't even start.
I couldn't tell you why. And I'll tell you one thing. I almost never blocked him in practice. I tried. I could almost one-on-ones. I think I won when he was a freshman. I won quite a few one-on-ones against him when he was a freshman, when he was like his freshman year camp. After that, not really. And yeah, he's a hell of a player.
You talk about David and Kene and even Allen. I'm a Chicago Bears fan, so probably the greatest night as a Chicago Bear for me, other than the Super Bowl win, was when they drafted David. I was ecstatic and happy. And as much as I hate the Vikings and hate Green Bay, I will root to this day for Allen and for Kene to be successful. Yeah. It's so cool. It's kind of nice to have them all in the same division. They get to play each other and see each other. Mm-hmm. But it's super cool as a fan to be able to watch those guys.
Yeah, it's insane. And Allen's story is as crazy as anyone's. Going from, being a 5-star recruit to dominating to somehow going undrafted. I think the jury's still out on why that happened. I don't know.
I think it's that Iowa State,
It must have been, right? Like losing, like whatever they think we're losers or something, I guess. I have no idea. But now they're showing love because we got a bunch of guys in the NFL now, which is rightfully so. But anyway, he had to fight through that, right? And from Jacksonville to getting to Green Bay to fighting. Like Allen was my roommate my sophomore year of college, so he and I are pretty close. Talk from time to time, and he kind of gives me kind of sage advice sometimes just about the football world and business and all that stuff, and fills me in on what goes on with him. But just him fighting through everything that he had to go through, like, especially as an undrafted guy, and you get signed to practice squad, or he got signed to active roster at the end of the year when he went to Green Bay, but kind of fighting through that. And it's like to become a starter in the NFL from being undrafted when there's guys ahead of you who are making, you know, 8, 10, 12, $15 million a year. You have to be tremendous. Like the money in the NFL, the money runs it, you know, so it's amazing.
Well, yeah. And you know, to not just be a starting wide receiver, but one that is consistently lauded in the media by one of the best quarterbacks in the league, right? I mean,
well, yeah, because that's the thing about Allen is he's gonna do everything right. Like he's not gonna make a mistake because that's just how detail oriented he is. And you see all the time, like sometimes they will highlight it during the game of like he'll just make an amazing block, like, and that's the kind of stuff that he'll do as a receiver, which, you know, they always say, like, if you want the rock, you got to block or something like that. You know, I'm not a receiver guy, but they say something like that. And, you know, it's about the little stuff, you know, it is about the big catches and all that stuff, but it's about the little stuff first, you know, blocking and all that stuff. So.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about Mike Warren. Mike Warren, to me, epitomizes ethics, because anybody else would have transferred and gotten out of there, and he stuck with it, even though he didn't get a lot of playing time. From your perspective, what was Mike Warren like?
Mike's a great guy. I mean, I still talk to Mike pretty much on a daily basis. Like we're in a group chat together and we play video games together all the time. Mike is an amazing guy. And that's the thing about the family atmosphere. Like, because he was so happy for David. You know what I mean? That he wasn't jealous or he wasn't mad. He was happy to see David doing his thing, being the best running back in the country, you know, like living up to his full potential. Like, you can't, when that's your brother, like literally we go to war together. We're brothers. Like if you put on that cardinal and gold, like you're my brother forever type of mentality. And forget it. If you're in the same room as I am, like that's even a closer bond. So it's like, yeah, Mike is just the epitome of like that family culture. You know what I mean? Like not turning your back on your brothers. But in the same breath, it's like, that's not to say that if you did transfer that's bad. You know, that's just to say that Mike is, you know, Mike stuck it out and wanted to be there with his brothers.
For sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I think one thing that we can see is the level of talent that you got to play with and around. It's really just unbelievable when you think about the history of Iowa State. That your time there, you know, all these guys that are in the NFL, some of the most amazing receivers we've ever seen, some of the most amazing running backs we've ever seen. I was sad to see Kane hyperextend his knee right away. I'm a Vikings fan. I live in Minneapolis, so I'm excited to see what he's going to do this year. Just so much talent around there. And finally, for once, on both sides of the ball. I think, you know, Chris and I can talk about growing up, you know, how Cyclones in the 80s and the 90s, if there was talent, you know, Troy Davis had one of the best offensive lines and was obviously a legendary talent, and we couldn't stop anyone from scoring to save our lives, you know, back in the mid 90s. But it's just amazing to see how much talent. What do you think it is about Matt Campbell and his staff that is able to cultivate that talent?
I think that they demand the best out of you for sure. And they're always talking about, you know, I think they make it easier because they want you to be your best self. They're not really worried about if you're going to be the best football player. That all comes. They want you to be the best you can be in the weight room, the best you can be during, you know, off-season drills and off-season skill acquisition, best you can be in the classroom, best you can be in the nutrition, you know, all that stuff. And that all kind of cultivates I think, and that's a very underrated part about it is success in the classroom and how that kind of correlates to success on the field. It's like, it's like you ever feel disorganized in life and just kind of like everything's messed up, and then you look at your house and it's like all clutter. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. Once you can straighten out all these things and you don't have anything else to worry about except football, then it just kind of like, hello, obviously, I can just focus on football. I'm not worried, like I'm in practice. I'm not worried about my test coming up next week. That's handled. I can focus on the now. And that's kind of what Coach Campbell had cultivated, through all that's through everything that he did, and just demanding the best out of everyone in every aspect of life, and just kind of helping people become better men, helps you to become a better football player. And obviously, with that comes, before all that becomes, it comes recruiting. And he brought in really good talent, just raw talent, and kind of guys that like no one else saw. Like Mike Rose, I think his best offer was Ball State or something. Like David, where did David have an offer from? I don't even know. Like, did he have offers? I think he was like a 0-star. Like, he just has an eye for it. And that's kind of like the Ohio pipeline too. Like, Ohio has ballers. Like, it has ballers for sure. And a lot of those guys end up at MAC schools, because there's so much, like, only so many guys can go to Ohio State. And there's so many schools. Like, Ohio is I think nationally, it's not really known that it's a huge football state. But Coach Campbell knows about pretty much all the nooks and crannies of Ohio. We have so many Ohio guys who are unreal.
Yeah, and Matt was someone who was known for having an eye for
Kareem Hunt at Toledo.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like
Yeah.
He had an eye for talent like that before. So obviously he's able to see something that's different than the stars behind someone's name.
Absolutely.
Right. I really appreciated the analogy you gave about how much better you're able to focus when you remove clutter. And I think that's probably something I hadn't thought of before. I thought that was pretty insightful. Like, if you get someone to focus so much on football and you say, ignore those other aspects, well, you can always try to ignore that, but that stuff is already going to creep up into your brain, and it's going to affect you mentally, whether you recognize it or not, whether you acknowledge, I didn't have the best practice today because I was too worried about X, Y, and Z. But
right.
When you take care of your house and you have all that, it's easier to focus on football when you remove distractions than it is to ignore distractions. And I think that was kind of a key thing that you said there, which I think is awesome. That's probably some pretty good. He's getting into the life advice part a little bit more deeply, Chris, this early in the podcast already.
All right, we usually don't get there until we've had a little bit more to drink. Speaking of Matt Campbell, he's got this persona of the business, like, not anything affect him and so on. But there have been a couple small moments that you've seen him where he's pretty much unleashed, I think, the Matt Campbell that nobody really knows. That one being in the bowl game last year, or in the Big 12 championship game, when he went absolutely berserk on the sideline, and I will let you know I was all for it. I was 100% all for it. And then I believe his speech after the Fiesta Bowl, when it leaked a little bit, where he basically told everybody in the world we did what they effing said we couldn't do. So without divulging any secrets, what's Matt Campbell like behind the scenes in the locker room when the shit's getting real? What's Matt Campbell like?
Coach Campbell, the thing about Coach Campbell is he just cares so much. Football is his whole life. Like, it's like he's up at the facility like 4 a.m. Like, he's the last one to leave. Like, he's always there. Like, he cares about each and every player so much. He cares about the team so much. Like, that's why it's like, dude, whatever it was, what was it? 4 years, 65 from the Lions. Like, nah, I got something, like, this is me. This is my shit right here. Like, I'm holding this down. So just based off of that, like, you can tell the kind of guy he is. You know what I mean? Like, and from some of the times that he flips out when, it was a BS call. And you can see at other times on the other end of the spectrum when we have a big touchdown, like if they pan the camera over to him, he's the number one dude jumping up, in the air, chest bumping people, like freaking, like, dude, because he loves his players. Like, he's so passionate, and that's just something like, but, and that's the thing to him, like, he's always available. Like, it's not like there's some other programs. I've heard some other programs, like, you have to like set an appointment to talk to the head coach. Like, you can just literally, like, he's not always in there. He's out and about doing stuff, or he's on a recruiting call, but if he's in there, his door's going to be open. You can just walk in and talk to him. You know what I mean? At any time about anything. It doesn't matter. So he's just, he's one. And that, like I said, like, it was so crazy to me that I got Coach Campbell and all those guys exactly when I needed them in my life. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like everybody needs somebody like Coach Campbell who is going to push you to be the best person you can be. And just kind of get you out of your comfort zone a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, he definitely did that with me. Because he saw something in me, you know what I mean? It wasn't always, lollipops and butterflies and rainbows, in our relationship. Like, he pushed me really hard, and it wasn't always what I wanted, but it's what I needed. You know what I mean? So he's just a guy who cares a lot. If I could say one thing, he cares.
It's evident that he does. You can just see it in his persona. After the Texas game last year, when they asked him about that team, and he was tearing up and almost to the point of tears because he was so proud of those guys and knew what they had accomplished in that game. And it was like his own kids. That's how proud he was, I think.
Yeah, it is. Like, once you're with Coach Campbell, like, he's your guy forever. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of like, especially like doing what we did, and turning that program around, and like, and it's still turning around. It's still going to heights never reached. Like, that's just something that's just going to bond you forever.
Well, I've seen, and I've noticed a little bit of, and maybe I'm fooling myself because I don't want to ever see him leave, but I almost feel like he has almost like a kinship a little bit with Bill Snyder. Like, he almost wants to model what he's doing there after what Bill Snyder did at Kansas State. Stayed there, built a program, not so much because he wanted to make a name for himself, but he wanted to leave some sort of a legacy that he could build and sustain a program, to almost like that's what he wants to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like, I can't really speak on what his end goal is. I've seen, you can only tell really through his actions and turning down a lot of turning down interviews, turning down job offers, turning down all this stuff. And that's, but even if you were to decide, tomorrow, like, I don't really want to be here anymore. Like, in my eyes, he's still a legend, and you can't be mad at him. It wouldn't be like a LeBron going to Miami jersey burning session. Like, it would be,
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you would just forever be thankful that Coach Campbell, spent some time in Ames, but I think he's there for a while. I can't speak on it, but I think he's there for a while.
It's funny because we've had these we've been burned before as Cyclone fans. We've heard someone was firmly entrenched, things like that, like language like that. But when Matt Campbell says, I'm trying to build something, not be something, it can come across as coach speak, but when he says it, I believe him. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's, my blind optimism, or maybe it's just because, he's come across as genuine in so many other things, but it just hits differently with him for sure.
Well, and my thing is, from my perspective, if I were Coach Campbell, it's like, well, let's think what a coach would want. Like, do you want support from your AD and diehard loyalty from your AD? Because Jamie Pollard's not going anywhere. We know that. Yep. So they're together. They're buddy. Do you want like diehard fans and support from, the community? Because you're going to get that. Like, do you want money? Like, because you're going to get that. You know what I mean? Like, there's the only thing that Ames doesn't have is like maybe a super destination for recruiting, but that's just like Coach Campbell doesn't want those guys, in my opinion. Like, he wants like the grind 'em dudes, like the came from nothing, like, we're gonna work this, like everybody's against us type of attitude. Like, he doesn't really want to deal with like divas or people who think they're so good or stuff like that. Like, he wants like blue collar guys, you know what I mean? Like that, because that's who he is. And that's who his whole staff is blue collar guys who came up from, not the best background maybe, or, kind of had to work for everything they had, stuff wasn't given to them. Cause in football, nothing's given to you and you got to go earn it. No matter if it's 5 stars, if you're the number 1 team in the nation, if you're the number 1 recruit, like you still got to go out and work at the end of the day. And we all bleed. So it doesn't really matter.
Do you think those are lessons that you're applying now as you get into your pro career? You had shared a while back after your time with the Eagles ended, your lessons about getting into even more, better physical shape and things like that. Like you're someone that I can see is continually like working to get better, stronger, smarter type of things. And it seems like, a lot of that foundation was probably laid during those years at Iowa State for sure.
It was. And, Coach Campbell, like, that's like, was a huge father figure, like father role in my life, where he taught me how to be a man and kind of like handle my business. And, that's something that he can instill in you. But you kind of have to step back and look at it yourself. And I kind of found every year, like I'm taking a bigger step. I'm taking another step. Like I'm not there yet. Let's take another step. And that's kind of what he was pushing me to do. Just come on, let's take that next step every year. Like and he always says 1% better every day. So that's all I was trying to do. And it's like, but there's some things that you don't really fully understand. And for me, it was like getting cut from the Eagles and then I'm home and I'm thinking like, oh yeah, a team's going to call, like I'm going to call, like, but let me just be ready. But it's like, I think that's what I needed because in my eyes, I was always athletic. I was never the weight room guy. I was never like the strong, like brawler, bruiser kind of guy. So I kind of got to go home, be in the lab, just develop, eat right, do this and that. And then crazy thing was I was in Ames, but nobody knew that. I didn't tell anybody. And I worked out at a private gym and I was just kind of like doing my own thing. I would just go there. I had a job. I'll go to my job, do that, eat right. And then I pop up, I think it was pro day. All my friends came back for pro day, like Kane and all those guys did pro day. And I came out and watched. And like, to me, I didn't think my body had changed that much, but like they see me, all the coaches see me, they're like, Julian, like you look good. Like, I was like, oh, well, I've been doing nothing. I've been just training for like, I don't know, at that point, it was like 6 or 8 months or something. Like I've been doing nothing, just working out and, crafting my body. And that's stuff that, coach, it's kind of like it happened in tiers. It was like, first it was like, okay, let's just like get these guys to actually play football. Like that was year 1. Year 2 was like, let's get these guys to like win a game. Year 3 was like, let's get these guys in the weight room, like get them strong. And then year 4 was like, just more steps. And I think that I was we didn't get to the nutrition aspect yet. Like we had a nutritionist, but it kind of wasn't like fully, we were still trying to focus on winning games. Like how can we even win? Like that was the most important thing, like day in, day out, like every morning and night. Like I know Coach Campbell was like, how can we just win? We just need to win. Now it's like, how can we cultivate these guys' bodies to be like physical freaks? You know what I mean? And now you look at, they have the new facility they have a chef, they have all this stuff. And it's like, dude, now it's looking like you see those like YouTube tours of like Clemson's facilities, Alabama's facilities. Oh yeah, we're on that level now. You know what I mean? So I feel like the nutrition aspect, I kind of had to figure out on my own. And once I left and once I got that, then I kind of, it kind of clicked for me a little bit. And Coach Campbell was like, I talked to Coach Campbell like off to the side on pro day, and he kind of, just told me, he was like, now I can see, you're kind of, you're a year 2 behind, like I always felt like, maybe I didn't reach my full potential at Iowa State. And it's something I felt like I kind of maybe let Coach Campbell and them down, but that happened. But he was like, now you're getting it. Like you're on your way. And I could see that,
Yeah, I could see it last year with the guys and then in the new strength and conditioning coach. And now you look at some of the off-season workouts that they're doing and what the guys look like now. I mean, Brees looks like he's chiseled out of a rock. I mean, it's crazy how big that guy is. And yeah, I thought Jarrell Brock was big last year, and he looks just as big, if not bigger.
Yep. I mean,
Julian, I'm going to take a break here. Somebody wants to say hi.
Hello.
What's
So
going
Joshua.
on, man? How you doing?
Good. I going to college in like 3 days.
That's crazy, man. I thought, man, that seems like just yesterday, man, that you guys were running around and saying curse words and stuff and had me cracking up at Victory Day.
Still do it.
I bet you do.
Things never change in my world.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he was excited you were coming on. He wanted to come down and say hi.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Good luck at school, man.
Yep. Good luck to you too.
Thank you.
I'll tell Jordan you said hi.
Awesome.
Which means probably in about 5 minutes, Jordan will be down. So,
Right. Well, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your time in the Eagles camp. How did that work for you, and what happened with that?
Yeah, I feel like it was a strange time, man, because I was in COVID year, right? So we kind of didn't have it was delayed, right? So we pushed back rookie minicamp, pushed back OTAs, and it all got pushed back and all kind of condensed into one thing. So I was there for maybe like 2 months almost. And we kind of did all the rookie stuff at once. But I feel like the NFL and the NFLPA did a really good job with the COVID protocols, kind of like easing people back into it, because they used their past experience of like a lockout year to where, things were delayed. And in those years, they had seen a lot of soft tissue injuries. So they wanted to avoid that with not doing rookie minicamp, not doing OTA. So there was a kind of ramp up period, they called it, and where we were, doing some light strength and conditioning, light walk through, jog through stuff on the field, maybe a little bit of individual, just like ramping up. And I thought they did a really good job of handling that. But, it was a long grind for the rookies, because we were there like at least 3 weeks or a month longer than the vets, except the quarterbacks came in, I think, like maybe a week after we were there. But it was just crazy, man, because it wasn't normal. We didn't have joint practices, didn't have scouts at art practices from other teams. We didn't have a preseason. So it was just us. It was compete every day, and that's kind of can be a huge grind when you're competing against the same guys every day, and you're stuck in that COVID bubble. It can kind of be a little crazy. But I thought I played well, but obviously not well enough to be kept on the team. But that's just how some things go. It's the NFL. It's the best players in the world. And I got to be against some really talented guys like Fletcher Cox. I got to go against numerous times. I got to see, I was playing guard and center, so I was more on the inside, but there was a guy, Hassan Ridgeway, and he was not a guy that a lot of people would probably know, but I thought one of the best players I'd ever seen in my life. He was insane. Brandon Graham was a guy who I didn't go against, but saw, and developing relationships with some of those guys in the O-line, and kind of just learning from, Jason Kelsey, Jason Peters, Isaac Seumalo, Lane Johnson, like just man, I would be in their ear every day, asking them questions. They give me answers, and once they start talking, that's when you shut up. You know what I mean? Because Jason Kelsey is a guy who's football IQ. First of all, I thought I was fast. We were running like sprints, and he like beat me by 20 yards every time. Like, he's so fast and he's so strong. But besides that aspect, his football IQ is off the charts. Like, he could, if he wanted to. Jeff Stoutland, too, the online coach there, is an absolute genius. He's I haven't, that was the only NFL experience I had, but I know that he's the best O-line coach in the NFL, hands down, just by the way that he teaches things. But if Jeff Stoutland was like, I'm going to take this season off, Jason Kelsey could develop the game plan, like the run game and the pass protection. He could do it by himself, because he's just that gifted mentally and cares that much about his craft.
Another Ohio guy, yep, as well, right?
Right. And what's go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, you just mentioned, guys that didn't go to Ohio State, but still, a lot of great. He went to Cincinnati, right?
Yep, Cincy. Yep.
Yeah, right. But it's just one more kind of piece of that, they must be teaching the right things in high school there, because a lot of the guys that come out of there just seem to have such a mind for the game.
Yeah, from what I understand, the high school football there is just as, how people hype up Texas high school football.
Mhm.
It's the same thing in Ohio. Like the way that I know that Kyle Kemp, and I think Coach Myers are both from the same hometown, Massillon.
Mhm.
When you're born, they like put you in a bassinet with like a football or like a little. I swear to God, that's what they told me. Like they put a little like plush football next to you when you're born, like if you're a boy. So it's serious. So yeah, and what was also really shocking to me was like the best guys on the O line, like Jason Kelsey, Jason Peters, and Lane Johnson, like all didn't have O line backgrounds. Like Jason Kelsey was like a fullback tight end at Cincy, and Jason Peters was a tight end and started. I think he was on practice squad with the Bills his first 2 years as a tight end, and then transitioned to So, but it's crazy. Like you kind of have to do that for these edge rushers in the NFL, right? Because you have dudes like Chase Young and like Montez Sweat and all these guys who run 4.4s. Like you can't have like a bunch of big fat dudes out there trying to block those guys because it's not going to work. Like these NFL dudes are ripped. Like Lane Johnson, he has a six pack. Like I don't know what else to say. Like he's super cut up. He's a freak. Like.
Well, I saw Jason Peters got signed by the Bears, and the first few pictures of him, he looks like a mountain out there. That guy is gigantic.
Well, we were doing like a bull rush drill one time, and I was paired up with him. And I try to like, you give them a jolt and they hop back and like replace their feet in their hands and like anchor it. I couldn't move him. Like I could not actually move him for him to even do the drill. Like the coach got pissed at me. He was like, "Are you even trying?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. This guy is an all-pro player. I don't know what you want me to say."
Well, the 5 minutes wasn't exactly 5 minutes because Jordan is now here. Yeah, because Josh can't do anything that Joshua isn't allowed to do anything that Jordan can't do.
Right. What's going on, man?
Hi.
Good to see you, man. I'm glad to hear that you and your brother are off to college, man. That's awesome.
I'm excited.
Oh yeah, where are you guys going?
We're going to DMAC, and I'm excited because I'm gonna go to parties and stuff.
Yeah, oh yeah, big time.
You're
dude.
home on the weekends. I don't know what parties you're going to.
Ones that people invite me to. You can't stop me because you're not gonna be there. Mom said so.
Oh yeah.
Mom's rules. You're gonna have to argue with her, not me.
Okay, because I'm sure your mom's on board with you going to party.
Oh, Mom told me, she's like, once you're in college, you don't have to listen to Chris anymore. So I'm like,
Yeah, because they listen to me now.
no, never actually. We don't ever listen to you.
You want to tell Julian goodbye?
Goodbye.
Bye, man. Good luck with college.
I will try.
So I want to ask one more question about the Eagles. You were there when Hakeem was there, right? Hakeem's still there and part of the organization or not?
I actually wasn't. So Keem was with the Cardinals during that training camp, and then he went to the Eagles after he was let go from the Cardinals. He got picked up by the Eagles, and that was after I got cut. So we just missed each other.
That's one guy that I'm baffled has not gotten a better opportunity with the talent that he had.
No, yeah, it's no, dude, it's crazy. Hakeem's one of my best friends in the world, and we talk on a daily basis as well. Yeah, it's crazy. And that's just kind of the business aspect of the NFL. There's a lot of guys, man, I don't know with Hakeem level talent, but there's a lot of guys with elite level talent who are at home. Like not even, Hakeem's at least floating around and he's going to stick around. He's going to get a shot and a really good opportunity because, man, he is, that's why I said David isn't the most like God-given talent I've ever seen because it's Keem. Because he's an absolute monster. I mean, I've never seen anyone like him. He'll find a home and he'll be really successful. He'll have a long NFL career because he's just too talented, way too talented.
That Kansas game where he just tossed that guy aside like it was nothing. I always knew he was kind of a just an athletic freak, but that play where he just tossed that guy aside like he was a little kid, I think that's when I finally was like, oh no, he's a next level type of athletic freak.
Yeah, like he's so strong, and that's the thing about Keane too is a lot of people don't notice is you can cut on the tape and like on the backside of plays, like he's knocking corners out, he's knocking safeties on their ass, like he's always done that, you know, in run plays or whatever it is, screenplay, blocking for someone else. He's an absolute freak in every sense of the word. And he's just a guy just like Allen, like he's gonna give it his all the time because that's just the kind of guy he is. So yeah, he's gonna get a shot here, and just like Iowa State football as a whole, like he's not gonna look back once he gets that opportunity. You know, it's just kind of like I said with what Allen did. It's kind of like that's like 1 in a million. You know what I mean? To work your way up through that, because no matter, like, you can do everything right, and it's just like, sorry, this guy's getting paid $10 million. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of how it goes sometimes.
So, Julian, I want to transition a little bit, start talking about this upcoming Iowa State season, because now that you have moved on, you're a professional, you get to kind of go back and you watch these guys as a fan more than anything, but you're a fan that has a lot of knowledge that your average fan certainly doesn't. I mean, there's never been a more heavily hyped Iowa State team than this 2021 team. You know, I had talked before about, you know, as an Iowa State fan, I've always learned to temper my optimism, but I got to say it's pretty hard to do that this year. Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at a team that, you know, beat OU last year, fell short in the Big 12 championship, just barely, and then thoroughly manhandled a really good Oregon team in the Fiesta Bowl. Even though people want to say whatever they want about the shortened Pac-12 season, whatever, like they have great players at year in, year out. Anyway, and you have pretty much everyone coming back. Like, I don't know if people realize what a year of development does in college football. Like, every year I felt myself being like, oh my God, like this is so much easier every single year. So to have a bunch of 5th and 6th year guys out there who we play together, we have the same team as last year. Like, the only thing that I could see being an issue is succumbing to that hype, you know, and that's kind of something that we have done in the past, but I think we're past that. As Coach Campbell's kind of culture and development has, you know, progresses every single year, I think we're past that. Just like we passed the fact of not being able to finish games, you know, and all that stuff. Like, I think we're past succumbing to the hype because we didn't last year. You know, we stayed the course. You know, we had some close games. We didn't win every game. I mean, it's hard to do that, but you know, we were faced with adversity and we were faced with hype last year, and we held up. So I think this year the sky's the limit. I mean, I'm telling everybody playoffs, like, we're going, but that's just me.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Expectations for the offensive line this year. What do you expect from them? All of those guys are coming back. Sean Foster, to your point, I think this is his 5th or 6th year. I mean, he's been in the program for quite a while. Colin Newell, what's your expectations for the offensive line?
I mean, we're deep. Like, we have players who can play, and that's so important. I feel like that's something that we lacked in years past. It's kind of like we had our 5 and maybe a 6th, you know, if someone went down, and we had guys who went down and we subbed in, you know, namely like Colin Olsen stepped up. But, like, I mean, to his credit, like he was a baller. He did it all, but, like, dude is like 6'1", you know what I mean? Like, we kind of just plug and played and had to kind of do, but now we have options, you know, we have depth and we have guys who have experience and another year of development. And these guys are big, man. Like, we weren't really big. Like, we were big. These guys are like huge. You know what I mean? They've been eating, they've been in the weight room. To me, it's these guys are looking to be Joe Moore Award finalists. You know, they were in that conversation last year. I think they were semifinalists, didn't make the final list. I think the finals just top 3, but these guys have it all laid out in front of them, this experienced group. And that's something that, you know, maybe my senior year, we were pretty experienced, but kind of kind of until my senior year, I felt like we were kind of looked at as the group that's going to like fuck it up. You know what I mean? Like, like, oh, quarterback's good, running back's good, receiver's good, but the O-line, tight end's good, O-line. So, but this year it's like, we got the O-line, you know what I mean? Like, we got these guys. So they're definitely gonna pave the way for a lot of these guys. But we have experience across the board, you know what I mean? So it's not like they kind of have to shoulder the team and have the pressure of like being the most experienced group, because we have experienced receivers, quarterback, running back, tight ends, everyone. So I just feel like that. I feel like that's going to shine through more than anything.
With your season going on up there in Canada, are you going to be able to make it back for any games, or is that pretty much going to be next to impossible?
Maybe Big 12 championship. I think our season will be done by then. I guess I don't know the date of it, and I'm kind of taking things week by week. I don't really look ahead too much, but I'm thinking that Big 12 championship, I think should be wrapped up and I'll be able to go. It's kind of like, not really trying to leave the country right now with, everything going on with, I'm vaccinated and everything, but you just never know how things might shake out. Trying to come back into the country when we have a bye week or something on short notice, like, don't really want to mess with that. So definitely will be watching on TV every single game for sure. Won't miss one.
Well, so I want to ask about name, image, and likeness. And name, image, and likeness happens 3 years ago. What's Julian Good Jones selling or having a commercial for? What's right up your alley that we would have missed out on and didn't have the pleasure to see?
Oh God, that's one thing about me is I'm really happy that these guys are having this, and I'm not that mad that I didn't have it, because even just in college, like 2 years ago, I was terrible with money. So any money I got, I would have instantly probably just bought a bunch of Domino's pizza or something.
Well, there you go. You could have been a Domino's pitch man.
Well, what do you know?
Maybe
Julian
like
and I
that.
were just alike in college, because that's what I used to do.
Right. So I think, I maybe would have, I would have tried to get anything I could, man. I would have been, but I'm glad for these guys being able to make a little extra money on top. Like, dude, because now we have, maybe, my freshman year, Alan would have got like a car dealership commercial or something, or Joel, but they would have probably got $200, like nobody really would have cared. But now we have guys who can, make a significant amount of money and kind of get a head start on, their finances and be smart and start saving, maybe open, a mutual fund or something, or put some money away and just have that in their back pocket. So I think that's awesome, man, because it is rough, man. I know we get cost of attendance stuff, but it's like, dude, after you're buying like rent and groceries, it's like, okay, like I don't really have any money to do much else. You know what I mean? Especially like getting good food in the house is expensive, man. Like organic stuff is not cheap, so it's good that these guys can capitalize off something. And just, man, I mean, whatever, dude, like if you want to spend your money on, I don't even care, but they deserve to have that money off of the work they put in. So I'm really happy for the NCAA for doing that.
The other elephant in the room that we probably need to ask you about is Texas and Oklahoma bailing on the Big 12 and where that leaves the rest of us. It's pretty hard to be on Twitter and listen to the doom and gloom of the fact that nobody thinks Iowa State brings any value to anybody. I don't know how we couldn't be in a better position with the facilities that we have now, the coach that we have, the culture that we have, the attendance, everything we have. We're in so much better position now than when we were in 2010 when this was a problem.
Right.
But it's hard for me to wrap my head around that we're not valuable somewhere.
I mean, that's just fucking like Twitter idiots, like just saying anything, right? Like it's just like the fucking dumbass like Hawkeye troll fans who are like, nobody wants you, like you guys don't da 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 da. Like, dude, we literally travel better than any team in the nation, literally. Like our bowl game, didn't Memphis run out of fucking beer? Like when we were in the Liberty Bowl?
They ran out of Busch
Lights.
Yeah, like, okay, like, are you guys serious? We have the best fans in the nation. Like we sell so many tickets. Like we travel so well. I don't understand how, a conference, I guess I'm not too familiar with like our viewing, like our views on a TV, level, but I'm sure they're massive, so yeah, because we have like, what are we, got to be top 10 in attendance on a year-to-year basis just for regular students at our school. So that means alum everywhere. It's like I can't even go anywhere wearing an Iowa State shirt without somebody saying something that they have some connection to Iowa State. Like people, you know what I mean? Like Cyclones are all over, and I know we have viewership. So I don't know how we don't have value. We probably, like you said, are in the best position of any Big 12 school to do that, besides Texas and OU, obviously, who are already leaving.
Well, you say that we travel. Wait until we descend into Vegas.
Exactly.
30,000 Iowa State fans in Vegas.
Exactly. Like, dude, first of all, don't let us play somewhere actually warm, like, and nice. Like, we're gonna fuck that place up. Like,
yeah, when we first got the Insight Bowl in Phoenix, and Phoenix was just completely covered in cardinal and gold because one, I mean, there's already a large contingent of Iowa State alumni in Phoenix, but that was people begging to go see a warm game. I'm not going to be able to make it to Vegas this year, and I'm probably a little bit happy about that because I'm kind of afraid of what I would do.
Oh yeah,
like it's probably better for me and my health and my.
I'll document it all for you, Tim.
My incarceration status to not be there, but
I'll document all my moves for you.
Okay.
Once I'm in like a festive mood and I'm around my friends and I'm drinking, like there's no amount of money that I won't spend. Like I probably would not be able to recover financially if I went to that game. Honestly. Especially in Vegas, like, and I like to gamble too. It's like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, no, it should be good. I think this year, the hype couldn't be higher, but now with that news, the stakes couldn't be higher.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think for the team, that's definitely not something that they'll be thinking about. I mean, but I just don't see a world where we don't land in another Power 5 conference. Like, how does it not fit in the Big Ten? Like, how does that not fit?
Well,
I think that's a perfect fit.
This whole alliance thing that the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, I still don't think I understand it. Chris, have you gotten your head wrapped around what exactly they agreed to?
It's a paper agreement of they are going to, in the future, do something. I mean, it's a big nothing burger is what it was. It was a press conference to make everybody feel good that they were at least talking about things.
Talking about what though? I'm out of the loop.
That was kind of the joke, is that they didn't announce anything. They don't have any concrete plans or whatever. Now I preface this by saying I absolutely hate Dave Wanstead with a passion for what he did to the Chicago Bears. However, he did say on Chicago's radio station yesterday that in Fox meetings, they were told that it's pretty much a done deal that KU and Iowa State's going to the Big Ten. Kansas State and Oklahoma State's going to the Pac-12. And the remaining Texas schools are left out. Now, that's from a Fox network meeting. I don't know what's coming down the pike. If that's true, I will give Dave Wanstead a big fat kiss right on the mouth.
Well, I think of the Pacific Ocean, I think of Kansas State.
Right.
Right.
Manhattan, Kansas, and its palm trees.
But you have to think of what these teams have to offer, right? Like, yeah, it makes sense. A Baylor and a TCU have nothing to offer. Mm-hmm. They're mediocre pretty much year in year. I mean, Baylor has basketball some years, but football and basketball, they're kind of like usually whatever. Like, yeah, they've had, I guess in the past couple of years, they have been really good at basketball, but historically not really. And the fan bases are mediocre, you know what I mean? Because there's so much to compete with. There's, people in Texas don't really care. Like, they have the Longhorns, they have Texas A&M, they have, all the pro sports. And KU of course is going to get picked up somewhere. They're one of the most elite basketball teams in history.
Until the hammer comes down.
That's
right.
But no, I mean, that's a good point. Like, Baylor and TCU are both small schools too, right? So it's not like they have this large alumni. You talk about wearing an Iowa State shirt, and it doesn't matter where I go. I wore an Iowa State shirt in Southern California, and someone talked to me about Iowa State. Like, anywhere you go, you see that.
Saw some guy at the
they don't
top
have
of
the
a mountain.
alumni groups at TCU and Baylor. So yeah, I don't know what they're gonna bring, and you know, some of those schools I feel a little bit bad about, and some of them, you know, whatever. But yeah, again, I have a hard time thinking that we're not gonna end up somewhere, especially, you know, if a program on the rise like this, how does any smart conference commissioner not want to capitalize on that?
Yeah, it's like, oh, Big Ten, like what was it, like 6 years ago or whatever? Like you took Rutgers in, but then like Iowa State, no, like Rutgers, okay,
Right.
you know. But yeah, those, and I will say, aside from playing at Kansas, where they're just god awful at football every year, Baylor and TCU crowds were always the worst.
Mhm.
Like they don't have the attendance, like you said, small private schools, and they just don't have fans. Like it's just it always sucked to play there because it was always hot and there was nobody there. So it was like kind of like whatever. Like what are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting. Chris, thanks for that insight on that. I didn't have time to really read what was said, but that was kind of the gist I got, is basically that they are agreeing to talk about things. It really didn't seem like it made a whole lot of sense to me, but it'll be curious to me, I guess. I think just what college football looks like in general. You know, we got used to using the term Power Five. That wasn't a term that Chris and I grew up with. Power Five wasn't a thing we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, are we going to end up in this, you know, 3 to 4 mega conference framework?
I mean, why not? In my eyes, I mean, like these teams in the Big Ten don't even play each other anyway.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm not sure what it is except for a conglomerate of teams to be on the Big Ten network. I think is the only point of a conference now. I mean, I'm not really sure what the deal is, but if we had 4, then I mean, I don't know. Did they actually? I know there's talks of expanding the playoffs. Is that a real thing or no?
They're not expanding the playoffs this year.
Not this year.
Yeah, they still keep on talking about it, and then it keeps on getting shot down. But who knows?
But if it's 4 conferences, I mean, then that's perfect. Then there's conference championships, champions get slotted in, and then all right.
Yeah, no, but like you said, you know, the Big Ten, they're not playing. You know, whenever Iowa fans, you know, mention, hey, why would Iowa State come into the Big Ten? I'm like, hey, we can also go and not play Ohio State. Like,
right,
right.
We can play Illinois every year. Like that's fine.
Indiana.
I would love personally. I would
Nebraska.
love an Iowa State Minnesota regular matchup.
Well, I think we're not allowed to play each other because of Jack Trice. Well, they haven't played since.
Well, they played in the bowl game.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
And
And
I thought it was like it's kind of taboo to talk about.
It is. We did also play. I want to say it was like 96 or 97. We did play up here in the Metrodome in the big inflatable. But
I remember that. Yeah, that was McCarney's second year, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, that would have been 97, 96,
97.
Yeah. So yeah, but anyway, no, I'd certainly like to see that kind of get renewed, and then, you know, you're right, it's a little bit taboo, but you know, we had George Trice on and talking about his legacy foundation. I would be a cool thing to kind of get that national conversation going again as well. So I think that
for
would be
sure.
fun.
Julian, where can Cyclone fans watch you in Calgary?
Like you mean on TV?
Yep.
I think all our games are through ESPN because I think, well, there's up here it's TSN, but I think TSN was bought out by ESPN maybe a few years ago. So now they're all on either ESPN2 or like you can watch online through the app, and some of the games are on ESPN Plus. So there's that paywall to get through. But I think most of them are you can watch them if you have like Watch ESPN app or whatever on, you know, your smart TV or your phone or whatever.
Sweet.
So yeah,
Great.
Yep. We have a game. We play Winnipeg on Sunday.
Good deal.
Yep.
Well, I try to wrap up with a question. Tim and I have this crazy notion that we think that we can help teach some lessons, and we're just a couple dads just trying to make the world a better place.
Mhm.
So we like to ask the question, what is your definition of success? And based off of that definition, who is the most successful person that you know?
Wow. I mean, okay, you maybe should have sent me this beforehand so I could have time to think about it.
Again, Julian, that's the whole point, is it's much better if you don't get to think about it.
Right. I think success varies from person to person. You know, it's probably based on individual goals. You know, you can't just necessarily say like, I mean, what is Elon Musk, is he successful in the eyes of a minimalist? Probably not. I mean, they probably don't even care about what, you know, if he is so rich and has all these things. And I mean, you know, so it's probably based off your personal ideologies and what you want to do in this life. I mean, you know, there's so many different paths to go down. And I think at the root of it all is probably happiness. So if you can look, you know, yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and tell yourself that you're happy and you like where you're at, and at least like the path that you're going on, because, you know, there's always going to be another goal. There's always going to be something else that you want to achieve. So I don't think that, in my eyes, I can never say that, you know, I made it, or I did this, or I'm, you know, because even in my career, when, you know, like at the beginning of the show, you introduced me as, you know, most career starts in Iowa State history. That was awesome for me. But at the same time, it's like, well, that's it. It's going to sound like maybe a little cocky or not too humble to say, but it wasn't enough for me. You know what I mean? Like, there's more down the line that I need to achieve personally. But so I would say it's up to each individual person. And if you're on track with your goals and what you want to achieve in this life. So the most successful person I know, I mean, like, with my definition of it being, you know, with it being up to your own, decided by your own personal goals, I definitely can't say, you know, David Montgomery, because I know he's the hungriest dude I know. So he's not satisfied. So by my definition, I guess not him. I guess, and by that definition, it can't be Coach Campbell either, because I know there's still stuff he wants to do. So I couldn't even tell you who the most successful person I know is. Maybe my mom. She seems pretty content. She's just proud of her son.
It seems like she did a fantastic job raising you. So I think she can certainly sit back and pat herself on the back on that one for sure.
Well, she would appreciate you saying that.
I certainly admire you.
Thank you guys so much.
That you are, for what you've brought to the program, what you personally have done for my boys. Kudos to you. I'm proud of you.
Appreciate it.
Well, Julian, is there anything else you want to say? Any social media, anything you want to plug, anything you want to talk about? Kind of the floor is yours.
I don't really have anything to plug, man. Just go Cyclones and watch out for us in the playoffs. That's it. I
like it. I appreciate where your head is at. I can't even imagine how obnoxious I'm going to be when we're in the playoffs, because I can tell you it's going to be pretty bad.
I can't tell you how obnoxious I'm going to be when we beat the hell out of Iowa.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for that either.
Cannot wait to shut those people up.
Oh, yeah.
Before we go, I want to give a shout out to a previous guest, George Trice. His golf tournament for the Jack Trice Legacy Foundation is coming up the day before the Iowa game, September 10th. So any listeners out there, if you want to contribute, the best way to do it would be to go to johnjacktrice.org, click on events, and go ahead and go to that register link and register a golf team to go play golf. And all the money goes to the Jack Trice Legacy Foundation. So it's a good cause.
Excellent. Well, you guys have spent another hour listening to us. So really, you're lucky you got to listen to Julian and it wasn't so much Chris and I this time, which is great. So maybe this time you did actually learn a thing or two, but we're very excited that you joined us on Old Man Strength. Please go ahead and check us out at the Tailgate Society. Please check out everything at thetailgatesociety.com. Got some fun projects in the works. We spent a lot of time on Slack brainstorming some ideas. I think there's some really exciting things that you guys are going to enjoy. So once again, that's thetailgatesociety.com. Please check us out there. You can find us on Twitter at strength_old, where, I'm not even going to give out our Twitter handles this time so that our listeners don't have to listen to Chris and I make fun of each other back and forth relentlessly in the middle of the day. No one needs to hear that, but they can go ahead and provide feedback, let us know what they want to hear, how one-sided we are, any of those things they want to
one-sided about Jack Trice.
Anyway,
Julian, some guy claimed that we were one-sided when we discussed Jack Trice and didn't give both sides. I'm not quite sure how you give both sides.
Yeah, no, there is one side.
There's one side.
Yeah, exactly.
That guy's a douchebag. So
anyway, thank you very much, Julian. This has been fantastic. We look forward to checking you out in your CFL career. I'll make sure to catch a game whenever I can. Hopefully, we do get some time here in the post-COVID after times where we're able to see you back at a game. I think that would be fantastic. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you very much, listeners, and we will see you guys next time.
I don't want to get on the bandwagon. I'll burn that wagon down and join the band. Traveling troubadours, terrorizing street corners just to try to get some supper in our hands. Now I waited all my life to get this off my chest, scream bloody murder until someone understands that it ain't about the money, the drugs, or the women. I make this noise just because I can. And we'll all join in to that original sin.